What are some of the weirdest relationships you can think of? Now, what are some that you dream of happening? Well, what if I told you all of this and more was possible via the DC multiverse? Welcome in, Nerd Squad. It's me, Amanda McKnight, aka VampX13, and today I'll be counting down this top 10 alternate DC relationships. Which couple would you like to see happen in the comics? Number 10, Superman and Wonder Woman. Superman and Wonder Woman in theory sound like a great couple, but for many readers, these two coming together really shook up the status quo in a way that a lot of fans weren't actually a huge fan of. Superman, after all, has long been shipped with Lois Lane, and seeing a reality where the two didn't come together was pretty heartbreaking. And then of course for Wonder Woman, that is Steve Trevor, although I feel like fans, myself included, weren't as heartbroken over the loss of that long-term relationship. At least, I know I wasn't. I don't know. Maybe everybody else really ships the two of them together super hard. I don't know. Maybe there was a lot of really passionate Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman fans out there. Booster Gold even expressed his own shock over Wonder Woman and Superman ending up together. For him, the couple was the end of the world. Literally. Booster Gold at one point has to travel back to the future in order to save his own future, but ends up being too late as it turns out what he was meant to stop was Superman and Wonder Woman getting together. But at this point, they already have. Technically, this relationship happened in what was considered to be the Prime Earth main continuity at the time, and this Superman was supposed to be the new version of the character. But this was also a Superman who ultimately was relegated to being kind of like an alt-reality version, in the sense that his New Earth version basically took his place as the Superman in continuity after he passed away. Well, they kind of get combined, but basically the version that was with Wonder Woman no longer really exists as we know him to exist, or we knew him to exist originally, with their relationship kind of just being forgotten. Number 9, Old Batman and Ra's al Ghul? This one comes to us from Batman Beyond, where we see Old Man Bruce as Terry McGinnis, the new future Batman's mentor. Old Bruce at one point reconnects with an old flame, who has still kept her youth, Talia al Ghul. The problem? It isn't really Talia, but Ra's, disguised with Talia's body, who is hoping to poach Batman's body for his own and use the Lazarus Pits to make Bruce's form young again. Not so he can necessarily be with young Bruce, but so he can steal his body. The two share a nostalgic and romantic evening, though, before any of this is revealed, even at one point sharing a kiss. So there it is, it happened. Number 8, Batman and Batgirl. In the animated film Killing Joke, we literally almost see these two get intimate on screen. Obviously, we cut away for the actual deed, but it was heavily implied. And in the comics, we also saw Barbara Gordon, daughter of Commissioner Gordon, Batman's good friend, and Bruce Wayne get shipped together really awkwardly in a comic based on the animated Batman Beyond series. In this comic, it's revealed that not only did Barbara and Bruce have an intimate relationship while Dick was actually absent, but we also learned that Bruce got her pregnant as well. Just double yikes. So many yikes. I don't have enough yikes for this video. Number 7, Wonder Woman and Batman. There are a few different alternate realities where Batman and Wonder Woman get together. I think one of my favorites is the one from a potential future that Wonder Woman saw via Martian Manhunter's device, the Transconsciousness Articulator. It basically allows you to dive deep into your subconscious, and when Diana was mulling over whether or not to act on her feelings toward Batman, she saw a potential future for them in her mind, where they grew older together. However, because she didn't age the same as a divine being as Bruce did, there came a day when Bruce was old enough to want to pass on, and Diana had to come to terms with letting him go. I don't know why, but that reality is always one that I just come back to when I think of them together. It's like both sad and beautiful, and ultimately in JLA 90, as Wonder Woman looks into her subconscious, I'd say that's how she feels at that time about a potential relationship with Bruce. It would be sad, it would be beautiful, it would be great, but also tragic, according to, where her mind is at. Anyways. Number 6, Batman and Cheetah. Batman and Cheetah got together almost in the DC animated universe. They didn't so much get together and go on a date as flirt though, and allude to the potential chemistry that could be between them if they chose to get together. And I'm not gonna lie, I kinda ship it. Admittedly, Batman was likely just flirting with Cheetah to manipulate the villain and get himself free, as he was kidnapped at the time, but regardless, it did seem like sparks could fly between the two, even if Batman didn't need to use his sense of compassion and charm to get free of his bonds. And the two did share a kiss while Batman was in captivity, so, could happen. I ship it. Number 5, Superman and Supergirl. We've actually seen these two get married in the comics, although it was a strange sight. At least those two versions of our heroes were not confirmed, not related. Linda Danvers tied the knot with Silver Age Superman, and technically Linda Danvers, while still Supergirl, was not actually Superman's cousin at all. She's her own thing. Her story was a lot more complex than that. Linda and Kal-El would even have a child together, Aurelia, but although this doesn't seem as weird when given the context, it was also once implied in Action Comics issue 289 that if Superman could marry anyone, he'd want to marry his cousin. At least that's what Superman said when Kara revealed she'd been trying to play matchmaker and find Superman a suitable woman to marry. Yikes! What? Look, it was a different time period. Is it a time period where you could maybe marry your cousin? I don't know. Number 4, John Stewart and Hawkgirl. These two are a ship that comes to us from the dceu, DC's animated universe. Hawkgirl and John Stewart were both colleagues in the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited animated series, and their relationship evolved from there, with them becoming close friends and then ending up in a relationship together. However, the relationship ended for a time after Hawkgirl's people came and attacked Earth. I mean, that'll ruin a relationship, am I right? Eventually, the two would make their way back to one another, but Hawkgirl and John Stewart are a couple that many hope to see appear additionally in the main continuity of the comics. That is how popular this alternate relationship is, and even I ship it. Number 3, Batman and Harley Quinn. Batman and Harley has to be one of the most surprising ships out there, but even they have ended up together in the White Knight universe. Here, Harley Quinn actually ended up leaving the Joker because of how unstable he was, although she also at one point was in love with him still. Known as Jack here, he eventually gets help and medication and he becomes well, which leads to him and Harley getting back together. During this time, they become engaged and she even gets pregnant. In this reality, Batman is ultimately painted as actually the one who needs to be reined in, as he doesn't even acknowledge how unstable he truly is. And unfortunately, as Jack attempts to kind of like take Batman down, he loses himself again, which leads to him dying in the battle between them. Batman gets arrested, but afterwards becomes closer to Harley, also realizing that he actually needs help. At one point, he even breaks out of prison temporarily in order to help Harley, and also has a custom Batman-inspired Harley Quinn outfit made for her. How cool is that? Number 2, Batman and Phantasm. Andrea Beaumont in the animated universe was a young love of Bruce's. The two fell in love during their time together at Gotham University and were even engaged to be married, but Andrea had to break off the engagement as she and her father were leaving to go to Europe. Her father was involved in a criminal money laundering racket and had stolen money from the mob bosses that he worked for, turning it into a profitable fortune all its own. To escape his insidious partners, who probably would kill him if they found out about his theft, he left Gotham and hid himself and Andrea in Europe. Eventually, her father's location was sold out and he ended up murdered by those he'd betrayed years before. Andrea, unable to accept this injustice, took her father's fortune and used it to train and get equipment to turn herself into the masked vigilante known as Phantasm, returning to Gotham years later to get revenge on those responsible. I mean, how can you not ship those two? I mean, perfect for each other. Both vigilantes. Both kind of crazy. Number 1, Zatanna and Nightwing. Kind of an odd pairing, especially considering the times in the comics and in the other areas of the animated universe that Zatanna has been shipped with Bruce. But apparently, some fans of Young Justice are pretty fond of this alternate reality relationship, so hey. These two were really only shipped together in season 1 of Young Justice. Even in this reality, Nightwing inevitably ends up with one of his most popular ships from the main comic book continuity, Barbara Gordon. But some still were holding out hope for Zatanna Zatanna and Nightwing to eventually end up back together. That's about it. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube. Bye!